All right.
Good morning, good afternoon to those in Glasgow, Scotland, and that time zone. Good evening, depending on where you are on this fast forward planet, wrapped sadly still in a pandemic. There's still only a couple billion people have been fully vaccinated on a planet of 7.7 billion. One reason the climate talks in Glasgow are problematic and contentious is because many developing countries haven't been able to send delegations there for fear because of the restrictions on COVID. And why is that? Because the vaccines have not flown equitably around the world. And we're on an overheating planet, but we're also on a joyous planet. Human beings are both divine and felonious, as Bill Bryson once wrote. And it's sort of a push me, pull you exercise to see which gets into the foreground day by day. So Sundays on this show, on the Columbia Climate School Sustain What show, we pause and get into the arts as a way forward. And I'm just thrilled to be back. This has been on hiatus for through the summer into the fall. And, I finally said, let's get going again. It's getting a little colder outside here in the Hudson Highlands and Lenape territory. More of us are spending more time indoors. So it's a way to convene. And today we have a very special guest, Alexis Rockman, a muralist and painter extraordinaire who's been doing this fantastical landscapes, mindscapes that have caught my attention for so long. And you can see here, we'll learn more from him in a couple of minutes about what he does. And of course, today is the opening session of the 26th Conference of the Parties to the Framework Convention on Climate Change, something I've been writing about since 1988. And I just was covering the earlier live presentations there. I'll be doing lots more live shows through this coming week or two. So this was this morning, just to give you a sense of the strange COVID kind of situation still. And on we go, back to the music, back to why we're here this morning. So let me just close out that window and say again, greetings to my good friends here all. Alexis, welcome to our gaggle from Warren, Connecticut. Patrick Stanfield Jones and Lori Siegel in Beacon, up in the Patrick studio there in the apartment. Great to see you. Karen Brooks and Mark Benedict up in Heath, Massachusetts, up in the, I assume it's cold there, get colder than here. And Julio Friedman, who's in the Livermore, California area, an early riser right now, but heading to Glasgow soon. He is known on Twitter as Carbon Wrangler, because his focus is how do we get this gas out of the sky that we've put up there the last 200 years. We can stop emissions from new ones, but there's a lot more that has to be done to balance the carbon budget. And Julio is a fantastic pianist and composer, as well as being a physicist. So great to have you here, early riser. And maybe we'll start with a little, Patrick and Laura, you're totally set up there. So let's start with a little good morning music. What you got?
We got a good morning song. We have a song that I think it's our debut.
Oh, yes.
This was an inspired song that started about a month ago, and it started in an inspired moment for me, and it became a collaboration.
Yes, yeah, we did.
Cool.
So it's an official
Yes.
melding of the soul, spirits, and creative juices.
Let's hear it.
So we're going to share it. Yes, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. I see a little bit of that little kid in you, and it makes me proud to see how you grew into the one who walks the world the way you do. All we experience and all we do is what makes up what we turn into. And I sure like the way you turned out. Yes, I do. Not just the rainbows, but the rain. Smiles and joy as well as pain. We are the sum of all our parts, our songs and tears, our souls and hearts. In the swirl of the river of life, we can be the light that shines through. And all we imagine and how we dare, and the joy we spread and the love we share. Choosing love over fear makes a better day. Not just for us, sing this refrain. In the sunshine and the rain, singing songs that light the way for the travelers to come. We're here for life, we're here today. We make the path and show the way to love, a place to start. Embrace the world with open hearts, minds, souls, travel on. Not just the rainbows, but the rain. Smiles and joy as well as pain. Mixed up all together in an all kinds of weather refrain. Take my hand and come along. There's an open road, our hearts are strong. Love shines through the dark, we can find a way. Can't be wrong. See the world with a child's eyes. Our hearts are young, our souls are wise. Life is a song we sing, dreams will lead the way. Not just for us, sing this refrain. In the sunshine and the rain, singing songs that light the way for the travelers to come. Travelers to come. Travelers to come. Travelers to come. Thank you.
Nice new song.
Yeah.
What a great collaboration
Yeah.
in many ways.
Thank you.
We're
Yeah,
so
thank you.
So thrilled for both of you. Beautiful. So we'll get to exploring some art in a few minutes. But right now, Karen Brooks and Mark Benedict is a masterful player of the pedal steel guitar, that magical lap device. And Karen is a great songwriter, singer, compadre, trouble sister, and member of Breakneck Ridge Review. And what's on your musical minds this morning up there in Heath?
I think we want to try this Lucinda Williams song because it's the one song we figured out to do so far where Mark can sing and play pedal steel. And
Just
that's
a little
kind of
bit.
treat. Yeah. So I think we'll try that. Had a reason to go back to like a child. We always talked about it. Didn't go on. We always said was how it mattered. An angel whisper in your ear and hold you close and take away your fear in those long last moments. We used to drive from Lafayette to Baton Rouge in a yellow Camino, listening to howling wolves. We always stopped at Lake Charles, 'cause that's the place he loved. And did an angel whisper in your ear and hold you close and take away your fear in those long last moments? Did you run about as far as you could go down that Louisiana highway across Lake Pontchartrain? Now your soul is in Lake Charles, no matter what they say. And did an angel whisper in your ear and hold you close and take away your fear in those long last moments? Take one more. And an angel whisper in your ear and hold you close and take away your fear in those long last moments, in those long last moments. How was that balance? A little hard?
It was fine. You did have to get close to the mic at the very beginning. Your voice was a little weak, but once you were on the mic, it was great.
Cool. Awesome.
Thank you.
Great.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Julio, I saw your question. I will try to slip in a song for sure. Yeah.
You definitely need to.
Let's check in with Alexis. So again, I'm going to show some of your work. You sent me some slides that I think are worth.
Let me just give you a little background on. I just wanted to give a context for the work, the paintings and works on paper I've been making about climate and how we struggle with understanding it because we're inherently a visual species and time is not our best friend in terms of understanding geology and physics. So I made a little presentation sort of showing our why we have problems with these ideas and why we're really in deep trouble.
Yeah, so, I know. Hold on, and I'm going to pull it up.
Sure.
Share screen. Here we go.
I'm glad you're doing this and not me.
Yeah.
All right, so this is just the title.
Oh, whoops, sorry. Oh, I hit the wrong button. Hold on. There we go.
Okay, next slide.
Yeah, so there you go. Boom.
Things that are incomprehensible, right? I still struggle, and I think many of us do, to understand the implications of the nuclear implications of what happened to Japan and various other places, be it accidents like Fukushima or whatever. Next image. Chesley Bonestell, the great visionary artist who worked for NASA, was hired to make, in this case, this is a meteor impact hitting Manhattan, but he also did a cycle of images about nuclear holocausts on the great cities of the world during the beginning of the Cold War. Next image. So ideas about the past, how the moon was formed, right? This is something we can't imagine. I think there's a convincing digital file illustration of what, I wish I could give credit. I can't remember who did this image, but it's relatively recent. Next image.
Yeah, that was in the book I wrote with my wife about the history of our understanding of weather and climate. You have to understand the origins of the atmosphere, and the moon shredded the first atmosphere. So the Earth has had multiple atmospheres, and when that collision ripped away whatever had formed at that point 4.5 billion years ago, and unbelievable.
So here's a pretty standard image of how we imagine the moon now in relationship to the Earth, just pictorially. Next image. The Origin of Life, Charles Knight, the great paleo illustrator who is as responsible for me being an artist as anyone. I grew up at the Museum of Natural History. My mom used to work there. I still think dinosaurs should look like that, even though I know better. Next image. In case you're wondering who that is, this is who that is, and I'm sure this is familiar. This is obviously 124 years ago, which is still compelling to me at least. Next image. Here's a more contemporary, more accurate version of paleo reconstruction, which I think looks fascinating, but also incredibly discordant to my expectations of what dinosaurs should look like. Next image. What caused their demise 65 million years ago? Next image. And then paleo, our ancestors, what did they look like? Victor Deke is a great paleo illustrator, worked at the museum, and was very skilled at making sculptures and then photoshopping information onto them. So this is as compelling a portrait of an ancestor as I can think of. Next image.
Hold on 1 second.
Sure.
Okay.
And then what happened on Easter Island? I still find it hard to understand exactly what did happen, how they moved, how humans moved these colossal sculptures, and who cut down the last tree that caused a major problem for them, not unlike us. Next image.
Yeah, and the narratives around what happened there are still evolving.
Yeah. Even how they got there. And of course, the incomprehensible, the unsinkable Titanic. It should be Titanic, not the Titanic, it was pointed out to me. Before and after. Ken Marshall, the great maritime painter of, happy, sad, et cetera, et cetera. Encounter with a growler. Next image. So far, none of these are my images. So next. Ideas of extinction, right? We still don't understand. I mean, this is the lamest picture I've ever seen of that's extinction. Like some blurry little waiting bird, nondescript. Boy, you really know how to make a compelling case for not having extinction. Wrong. Next image. So in many ways, my job has been to take these ideas and try to make compelling images. Jurassic Park, of course, this is state-of-the-art digital technology fused with a little bit of Robert Backer's, the dinosaur heresies, but really dialing it back to Charles Knight also. Next image. The incomprehensible extinction of the stellar sea cow that went extinct within 50 years of its discovery. In case you want to know, it's tragedy heaped on despair as far as I'm concerned. Next image. And then, of course, Benjamin, the last known thylacine at the Beaumaris Zoo, where I visited in 2003, which is now basically abandoned. Another sad story. Next image. The future, next image. And then Chesley Bonestell again making a sexy vision of the future, even in the 40s, which is fascinating. Next image. And then, of course, the, damn you all to hell moment, which still resonates, even though the geology is preposterous. The Pacific and the Atlantic meeting. Next image. And then, of course, the greatest visionary achievement in cinematic history is world building, Kubrick's 2001. Next image. And then, of course, did Paul Ehrlich paranoia, the population bomb, come to fruition? Richard Fleischer's, uneven, but I think the poster is better than the movie, even though Edward G. Robinson makes me cry every time. Next image. And then, of course, the idiotic and reprehensible The Day After Tomorrow, which is really just a crime against the planet and humanity. Next image.
Well, I'm curious. I wrote about the film. I did a piece for the Times, and I was there on set when they were making it. And there's all kinds of issues about it. I didn't know if you had your own. What's the biggest part of the reprehensibility that you see?
Making these earth-shattering, this information that it has a profound problem. Also, let me give you some backstory. My show at the Brooklyn Museum, Manifest Destiny, which was imagining what was going to happen to New York after climate change. I worked with James Hansen and Cynthia Rosenzweig for a number of years, from the late 90s through 2004. This movie opened 2 weeks after that thing I'd worked on for 5 years to try to make a credible version of what the implications of climate change. It's an 8 by 24 foot painting. This movie came out and turned it into an Irwin Allen type trope, where it was not only idiotic, it was preposterous looking. And the idea of the snowball Earth, all the stuff in it was just idiotic. And at the moment when the world really needed a China syndrome, like a very sober and serious treatment of this information, to turn it into a gee whiz type of scenario, it infuriated me no end.
Yep, they did the classic caricature.
And I want to get my hands on that guy's throat. Uh-oh, we have infinity.
Sorry, yeah, I just did
That's a tough one.
Yeah,
Next image.
Sorry.
So then, these are the stakes, right? So, and then you turn it into, not to pick on any of the actors in there, but they should be embarrassed. Next image. Again, before and after. So these are things that we see this, and what do we do with this information? I don't know. It's terrifying to me. Next image. I made a map of extinction in the late 90s using a high school textbook geography lesson that's a commission for the Department of Fisheries. Seattle, that's fine. So this is one way I was dealing with extinction. Mm-hmm. Next image. The ideas of how do you show pictures of it. This is my first climate change image exclusively about that, which actually dealt with Snowball Earth. And because that was a compelling story at the time because of the Gulf Stream. And then the typical more, heated up world on the right. Next image.
Yeah, I want to hold on this one for a second because it reminds me of several things. Eric Sanderson at Wildlife Conservation Society.
I know. Yeah, we're friends.
Mannahatta.
Yep.
Which has 1609 Manhattan and then 2009 Manhattan.
Yes.
And this relates to where you go with your art. I keep saying when I speak about it, I say now we need to see 2409. Let's go forward in time. Yeah.
So look, the date of this, of course, is sorry, that's that's out of order, but that's a detail of the slides ago. That's fine. Just showing like avian malaria and the introduction of rats and pigs onto.
Right.
So there's Easter Island again in that purple circle, and that those sort of flesh-colored arrows are human migration.
Right.
Next image. ideas about biotechnology and GMOs in the context of artificial selection and agricultural history.
Yeah, that image with the pig with the human organs in it, that's happening right now. They've just
and this
there's
is
a new study that
21 years ago, the painting.
yeah. Just I think a week or two ago, a paper came out showing that they're actually started successfully growing a human. I think it was, can't remember his kidneys in pig.
Yeah, I mean, this has been in the literature for years, and I'm not inventing anything that's not out there, but my job is to sort of show it within the context of the history of life on Earth and human activity, and in this case, artificial selection and agriculture, and really show, hopefully, our hopes and fears and how the iconography can fit into the context of other images that, in this case, American landscape painting and stuff like that. Next image. There's Manifest Destiny that I was telling you about earlier that opened at the Brooklyn Museum in 2004. That's now in the Smithsonian American Art Museum.
So that's 24 feet across?
Yeah, exactly.
Amazing.
A big...
well, I see some interesting details there. Just
sure.
You have...
in species that will migrate from the south, a sort of global ecology, right? Animals and plants that do well all over the world. Examples of that now are obviously domestic cats and European wild boar, domestic pigs, or so on and so on. It's endless. And we're going to have a more and more homogenized ecology as things start to degrade more and more. I saw a fantastic image yesterday. I just have to tell you. I was driving back from physical therapy. I had a shoulder replacement a couple of 5 weeks ago. And I'm driving down through the mist in rural Connecticut, and I see this white dot running across the road. And it's a young black bear that had a garbage bag in its mouth that was bounding across the road, running up a hill, and it saw the car I was in and dropped it, and then the bag went rolling down the hill. So they're doing well, obviously, on some level.
Yeah. And this is a detail?
Yeah, next. Yeah, I know this is eating up a lot of time, so we can sort of...
No, this is good.
I'm very interested in the specificity of the iconography. I go through a lot of effort to work things out, and this is the key that goes with that painting. From snakehead from Southeast Asia, migrating birds like spoonbills and stuff like that, and channel catfish and so on and so forth. The next couple of images are really just other versions of that same idea of just the degradation of the landscape from climate change and the introduction of invasive species and stuff like that. In this case, I was wrong because I didn't realize that the insects were going to plummet. So those are fireflies, which are really beetles. I didn't understand that we were going to have this population crash of all these arthropods.
Oh, give them time. They'll once we're out of the way, they'll have a great time.
Yes, of course. Next image. That's documentarian. So, next image.
Wow.
Nod to North by Northwest also. Next image. Next image. I just wanted to include this. This is the most recent painting. These are animals that have brought zoonotic diseases to humans throughout history. And I made this during the pandemic last summer. So I just wanted to include this how my interests are a growth industry, sadly.
Yeah, really.
I think that's and then of course the loss not only of biodiversity but geologic biodiversity, geologic diversity. We all know that glaciers are geology.
Yep. I'm sorry. Can you go back a slide if I can be so bold? Is
Yeah.
that a pangolin?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a big pangolin fan. I'm curious why you selected one here.
Well, there's some ideas that certain diseases have jumped from pangolins to other species, right?
Mhm.
Yep.
Along with the pox civet and black-faced macaque and some other creatures. It's a long list. This could be an enormous list.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I remember in listening to something you said on a YouTube video I was watching. I think you, like me, have you developed a. I don't know if it's you've insulated yourself emotionally from some of this, or as a journalist.
No.
I maybe it's not emotionally. It's you're an observer. Let me get how you're kind of inquiring and painting and observing, and then getting up the next day and still
Well,
going forward.
you have to be kind of schizo to just, be optimistic enough to get out of bed. But it's a coping mechanism, and luckily I have a busy career making art, which I'm privileged enough to have the time to do and the resources to do. And my way of coping with what I learn about what's happening to the world is sort of integrating those things and making work about it. So, but I'm, despairing and enraged, and depends on the time of day or the day. But it's one of that and exercise, going running or playing basketball, the things that I can do that are productive to cope with this information without just jumping out the window. Even though I jump to here.
In the chat, Julio had a question. I think maybe he wanted to ask you about
Sure.
another kind of envisioning.
Sure. So first of all, this is just so beautiful and so terrific and so impressive and so impactful. Thank you. I've never seen your work before. I'm really quite struck. I've wrestled for a long time with how to communicate these difficult topics to people who don't read graphs, and that's a hard thing to do. One of the topics that people don't have a very hard time getting their heads around is the idea of managed retreat. If your manifest destiny vision is close, at some point you walk away from Manhattan. What does that mean? What does a future governor write to their citizens? How is it executed? Like, how do you abandon Florida in a way that is just and reasonable as opposed to catastrophic and haphazard?
Well, we all know that, not only is our country educationally challenged, there are many forces that are far stronger than I am that are trying to undermine any of these ideas. The idea of justice in the context of this is preposterous, besides ecological justice. So I see it unfolding in an extremely let's just say it'll be a very big challenge from my perspective. I don't see that happening in any way. So I'm sorry to say.
So since you can't see it happening, you can't illustrate it.
Well, I mean, those are, I think perhaps different languages and traditions might be better served to describe those ideas. I think there's, I have a couple of limited series / film projects in the works that I've been working on for almost 10 years that for those of you that I'm sure there's no way for you to know, I worked on a movie called Life of Pi for 4 years with Ang Lee, and that was as inspirational artist. So I had a hand in the way the film looked and the island. Even though the island is obviously fiction, it's very much, the job was to make it credible. And I actually was in Madagascar thinking about the island while I was working on the movie, because I had another trip planned before the production started. So I think there's all sorts of ways to tell these stories. And I think that maybe, media, film or television, whatever it is at this point, is better served at that than painting.
It's so interesting. There are a couple of scientists I know, Catherine Mock and A.R. Siders, who they wrote a piece. They're dug in deeply on this idea of managed retreat. And what we see in this picture, of course, is unmanaged retreat. But they wrote a piece and a commentary recently on the conversation that does start to examine how. And this is, I guess, what I'm trying to say. It's a little early on a Sunday morning. I haven't had enough coffee yet to articulate, but it's there's room in this landscape for all kinds of visions and visionaries. Some focusing on the dark, some on prospects of light. And this was one of the illustrations in their piece. And what will emerge will probably look more like Lagos, Nigeria, where we already have floating city. A big chunk of Lagos is a community that's on the water. And then eventually it might normalize into something like one of these things. One thing that excites me about the world on a longer time scale is there'll be a lot less of us, not necessarily with a calamity in 100 or 200 years. If we somehow can tweak a couple of knobs related to fertility rates and women's rights. And so you could have a planet. I've written about some folks in Austria who have projected you could kind of have a soft landing with like 2 or 3 billion prosperous people on the planet Earth in 2300. And that leaves so much more room for nature and so much more room for recuperation and the like. So, but that's only one vision, and I'm like, it's all good. And what you do is powerful. And these things are interesting too.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you ever saw that Neil Blomkamp movie Elysium, which basically means rich people go to a satellite around Earth because the Earth is so polluted. I mean, that's that and silent running, even though they're preposterous in terms of energy resource. If you look at the history of human politics and behavior, that to me seems more credible than these fantasies of gated communities on that are an island. I see that as a pipe dream. I'm sorry to say.
Certainly, if they are gates.
Yeah.
Stay tuned. David Ross has joined us. My other good friend, also in Beacon, New York, who was he led the Whitney Museum for quite a while and other museums. He's a great songwriter and performer and part of our Breakneck Ridge Review. And David, how are you feeling these days?
You're muted, David.
Oh yeah. Hi, Alex. How you doing?
Hi. How are you?
Good. I remember we showed a painting of yours, but way back at the ICA in Boston.
Yes.
I think it was like in 1982 or 83.
That was no. That was my first museum solo show.
Right.
What year was it? 88.
88.
88. Yeah.
So it was one of the last shows we did before I went to the Whitney then. Right.
I know. Thank you for doing that. I remember. And David Joslett was the curator.
David Joslett. Yeah. No, and he's back at Harvard again, actually.
Good to know. I thought he was at Yale.
No, he left there. Anyhow, he's doing very well at Harvard and he's kind of
a genius.
Happy to be living back in Cambridge. Yeah, he's a great art critic and a really, really terrific curator, although he doesn't do that much anymore. But I've been following your career very closely because I still think that you're one of the painters who have managed to find a way to put a message about the world out there in a variety of languages that actually can be felt and understood. And
thank you so much for saying so, David. Really, it means a lot to me.
Really
thank
important.
you.
We'll take one more glimpse.
Yeah.
Wait
Wow.
a second. So this is also
so those
your work
figures,
is I'm
sorry.
The bigness of it is there's very profound pieces to see in person too.
Well, also, I mean, the vocabularies that you employ, the vocabulary of science fiction illustration, of actual illustration and wildlife and the like illustration, as well as surrealism, it just adds up to a very different, a very different kind of message. It reads in ways that I think people are not expecting to be affected by a painting, and I think that's one of the reasons that they're such effective works.
Thank you so much.
That project you did at the Brooklyn Museum, when was that? Was that 5 years ago now?
That was 2004, David.
Geez, time flies when you're having fun. That was a really important project. I don't know if you have any images.
Yeah, that's the, go back 2 slides.
Yeah,
Andy,
there it is.
you don't mind?
Oh,
Yeah,
wait, which way? Oh, this
there,
way?
right there.
Yeah, there
Yeah.
it is.
So that is now in the Smithsonian, hanging next to Thomas Moran's enormous Yosemite painting,
Wow.
which to me is they like hung them together as a semi-permanent installation, and to me that was a dream come true, because Thomas Moran was, and many of those Hudson River School painters were really creating a type of propaganda about expansionism.
Do they? I can't recall whether or not at the Smithsonian. This is at the Smithsonian American Art Museum at
Yes,
SAM?
they own the painting, and they decided to hang it with that painting that inspired this painting over 20 years ago.
Well, it is interesting that generation of American landscape painters were essentially working for industry to try to create this idea of this land that was empty and beautiful and had no other inhabitants, and there were it's like, yeah,
exactly.
come on out and claim your piece of this land that is just waiting for you to take it. And
right, as long as you're a certain color.
Yeah, as long as you weren't a native. It looks like you weren't from one of the native communities that were absorbed. Yeah,
absolutely
right.
But yeah, it is disturbing to see how those paintings are considered. I mean, they are extraordinary paintings, but ideologically they're really repugnant.
They are, and one of the things that I loved about them that's no longer true, for better or worse, is that no one really they weren't appreciated or beloved by the hangover of modernism. And to me, that was one of the more enticing things of this disgraced tradition that I, of course, want to embrace.
Yeah, I think I think that you're one of the few artists I could say who's kind of figured out what your job is today. I mean, I think that's the hardest thing for artists today to really understand. What is it they're supposed to be doing,
or what matters. Yeah.
I mean, even if you figure out what matters, how do you act upon that in this era, where the internet and social media are so powerful, where the history of cinema has only, created products of increasing power and often increasing emptiness. And so, what is a painter supposed to be doing? Or should a painter be painting? I mean, should a painter be making movies? It's tough, and a lot of my students are really struggling with whether or not there is not just a future in painting, because there'll always be people who want to buy paintings and whatever. And painting, the idea that painting is dead is a stupid idea. But whether or not painting is the most effective way that, as an artist, one can engage, the global conversation about what's so critically important at this point.
I agree completely. It's something to wrestle with every day.
Yeah.
So let's wrestle with that thought and return to a little bit of music here.
Yes.
Can you hang on with us here a little while, Alexis?
Of course.
Good. It's a jam. Claudia Gibson, I think, is coming on from Wimberley, Texas, in a little while too.
Oh, that'll be great.
Applause from Julio. Julio, I thought we'd slip in very quickly the piano piece that you sent a recording of, because to avoid the bandwidth issues we were always having with piano. So we'll do that, and then I'd love to get back to Karen and Patrick and Mark and Lori and David, of course. So hold on a second. Let's see if I can make this work.
Sure. While you're teeing it up, let me just talk. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, hold on. Yes?
Oh, I just wanted to say, Debussy's been on my mind lately. And in part because it's just so beautiful, in part because he's so innovative as a composer. He really tried to marry East and West, and he created a whole soundscape that was completely unique and heralded in the modern age. So I've been just doing a little bit of that, and that's what I've got this morning.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. One of my favorite artists.
Absolutely.
I have no idea why the video didn't play. The audio is perfect. It was beautiful.
Mm-hmm. We
I
just
had it
had the
queued up
piano
using-
tuned. That was another reason to play Debussy. So
Oh my gosh.
after 2 years in lockdown, we finally tuned the piano, so that helped. Been playing a lot of Copeland lately too. I'll bring that next time.
Yeah, I remember when you played Copeland on here a couple of times. That was spectacular. I'm thankful for the recording capturing it so beautifully. I'll make sure the video plays. I'm not sure what happened with the video, but that was great. Wow. And it just makes me want to take a breath.
Right. So we often talk about the fact that we're all trying to save the natural world here, which is true. But we have to save art and civilization with it. That these are twinned activities. That art is a human activity as much as anything else is, and it's powerful and should be celebrated and embraced. So, we don't get to just, sidestep that stuff either. I keep waiting. At some point, somebody will figure out how to write a musical about climate change that isn't like facile and ridiculous. And whenever that happens, it'll be a good day.
It'll have my song Liberated Carbon in it.
I think that's wishful thinking, even though I love that song. I don't imagine Lin-Manuel Miranda embracing that one.
No, I don't think so either. Patrick and Lori, what's on your musical minds after these wonderful images and thoughts and sounds?
Well,
Yeah.
got a song that I had written kind of conceptually at first. The first part was about my dad, and it's called Mystery Prize. And the second part of the song is about some imaginary wonderful woman that I would meet someday. And, well, I guess she's here right now. So a little prescient, right? Anyway, we're just going to kick it off because there's a lot of people to play. And
Yes.
Hello, David. It's good to see
Hi,
you
David.
again. Yeah, definitely. Loved playing with you, and we did a little show about Townes Van Zandt.
And it was wonderful.
It was really great. So anyway, here we go. Little tune called Mystery Prize. One, two, three, four. Went to the circus when I was just 10. It was me and my daddy and little brother, and he took my hand. Got me a Cracker Jack box. He whispered, reach inside. I got a monkey and a kangaroo. You know it got me to smile. I remember that day, me and my dad, circus clowns and all the fun we had. Big top elephant, flying trapeze. On the way back home, he turned and said to me, I like being with you. I never realized that life could be so good. Son, you're my mystery prize. Well, the years went down. Guess I was all washed up. I was a little man. Guess I needed bigger love. Well, my dreams came true that Saturday night. 'Cause baby, I saw you. You were there with your summertime eyes. I took your hand, I said we cannot hide. Listen girl, we gotta reach inside, 'cause life ain't long, it's a short embrace. So come on, kiss this joker with his funny face. I like being with you, I like to see you smile. I like being with you, baby, you're my mystery prize. I like being with you, you're my mystery prize. I like being with you, baby, you're my mystery prize.
Nice tune.
Oh, thank you. Thank you,
Thank
guys. Thank you.
Nice
To have
tune.
someone to
Gosh,
sing
we
it
got
to.
more songs to play when we all get back together doing another breakdance
Yeah.
You
session.
bet.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Well, you've been working on that song a long time, Pat, but I think you finally found the right ending for it. Yeah.
That's pretty
You're-
funny.
How true, Dave.
And David, you haven't sung a tune yet, so maybe we'll get you in here, and then Karen, and back to Karen and
Oh, sure.
Mark. Is it Mark? My brain's not working.
We're going in with real tuning today.
But if you want to tune a little bit, maybe we could get Karen and.
I think I'm ready.
Okay.
So here's a song that I've played on the Sunday show before, but I'm playing it because Alexis is here today. It's a song that I wrote with some help from my friend Pat Jones about 2 years ago now. Maybe it's called That Mighty Sculptor Time. And it's a song that I wrote after reading an essay by the great French writer Marguerite Yourcenar, who titled a book of her essays, That Mighty Sculptor Time. And it goes like this. You slept for centuries beneath the sea. 300 souls drowned with you. Your sleep's guarded by the time and tide. Dark and cold was all you knew. Time changes us all. Time changes us all. That mighty sculptor, time. 1,000 years has come and gone. The sculptor's work will never cease. Left sleeping on the ocean floor, transfigured masterpiece. Time changes us all. Time changes us all. That mighty sculptor, time. So now you're back on the land again, bathed in love, caressed by light. Your body rough-hewn by relentless waves, a noble, stately sight. Time changes us all. Time changes us all. That mighty sculptor, time. And so we tremble, for we've not learned to ease the dying of our dream. Old love forgotten, new love is scorned. Some things ruin, some redeem. Time changes us all. Time changes us all. That mighty sculptor, time. That mighty sculptor, time.
Beautiful, David.
Thank
Beautiful.
you. Ah,
It
Very,
does
very
change us.
David, I love the new words. The new words are great.
actually, those are some of the old words
Oh,
from an
Okay.
earlier writing
Earlier
of it.
version.
I just was going to try it out today.
it's great. It really
lovely.
fits in so nicely.
Thank you.
It really takes you.
So I see Claudia Gibson is in the green room. She's having
Oh.
a sip of coffee and grabbing a donut and tuning
That's
up her
wonderful.
guitar
Well,
there.
Please give her my fond regards. I have to jump, but
I
it's
will.
wonderful
I
to
will
see
do
you all.
that.
Nice to
I'm sorry
meet
to
you.
miss Karen and
Julio,
Mark, but
take
nice to
care,
get-
and we'll see you again here soon.
Yeah, let's catch up again after Glasgow, when we will either have one drink or two, depending on how it goes.
No, I think it's one drink or two, no matter how it goes.
Either way.
Holy, a
Some really
beautiful
nice comments
piano.
coming in. There's Melissa Ortquist, our friend.
Hey,
Ah,
Melissa.
You're all
Hi,
sounding great this morning.
Hi, Melissa.
And Donna.
Oh, Donna
Donna's here
Nestler's. There's Lydia Adams Davis saying thank you, David.
Oh,
And
yes.
Donna Nestler, how I miss the donuts. Donna, are you still out on the boat? It was great to see Donna and Rick on the sailboat finally after her leg healed up, which is wonderful. So Karen and Mark, what more you got for us?
Well, we have a Gillian Welch song. I used to pronounce it
wonderful.
Jillian until I met Karen and she corrected me. But anyhow, the first time Karen and I played as a duo was at a small scale festival in southeastern Connecticut, which is where I've played most of my music. And our slot was late on Saturday night. We went on after all the big rock and roll bands had played, and we figured, oh, well, we're just going to put everyone to sleep. And this song started to wake people up, I think. And by the time Karen started singing some of her stuff, you could feel that everyone was on the edge of their seat. And we wound up being the only act that had to do an encore that day. Gillian Welch called Hard Times. Was a Cape Town man, used to plow and see. He loved that mule, and the mule loved him. When the day got long, as it does about now, hear him singing to the muley cow, singing, come on, sweet old girl. I bet the golden world we're gonna make it get to the end of the road. Singing hard times, ain't gonna lose my mind. Hard times, ain't gonna ruin my mind. Bessie, hard times, ain't gonna ruin my mind no more. Said it's a mean old world, heavy in need. That big machine is just picking up speed.
Tears, they were
They
supping
were supping
on
on
wine.
We all get to
Heaven
heaven
in our own sweet time.
So come
Come
on,
on, you Asheville boys,
turn
up
up
your old town noise.
till the dust comes up
From the cracks in the floor.
singing
Hard times ain't gonna ruin my mind. Hard times ain't gonna ruin my mind.
This is
Hard times ain't gonna ruin my mind no more. Cape Town man,
he don't plow no more. I seen him walking down to the cigarette store. Guess he lost that knack.
he forgot that song.
Was the
Morning and the mule was gone. Come on, you ragtime king. Come on, you darling, sing.
Pick
Up that dusty old horn and give it a blow.
singing
Hard times ain't gonna ruin my mind. Hard times ain't gonna ruin my mind.
sugar.
Hard times ain't gonna ruin my mind
No more.
Very nice. Sorry, I was
Thank
having
you.
some technical issues here.
Those
I always have
technical
those.
issues.
Those technical issues.
Absolutely.
Let me get Claudia in here.
Hey,
man.
Claudia. Yay. Nice to
It's
see
been
you.
great.
Yeah,
I've played that song in recent years with
I bet you
a
have.
sometime partner, Anna Larson. I think Anna was on here
Yeah, she
a
was.
few times.
That was great. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a wonderful song. You guys doing a nice slow pace, very different than the original pace. I like it slow. It's nice.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Slow is good for me.
Everything Karen was singing with
I'm
me,
going to have to
she
say,
helped me remember
so
the
long.
words a couple of times.
And
Yeah,
I want to thank you for having me. And David, it was great to see you. And Andy, so nice meeting you guys. And I really appreciate the positive energy of this group of people. Thank you
Nice
so
to
much.
meet you too.
It was so great to
Great
see
to
your
have you
work.
on.
It was
Yeah.
fantastic.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for
Yeah.
your Sundays.
Your work
And,
is amazing.
thank you so much.
Really.
Let me just
I
show
really
one more view of it before you go. Hold on a second.
Oh, just incredible.
Let's
Thank
be
you.
in touch, Alexis. A couple things I want
All
to
right.
talk to you about.
Okay. You know where to find me.
All
Yep.
right. Yeah, take care. Really glad that this worked out. Take care.
Thanks so much for inviting me.
That's awesome.
Bye-bye. Hold on a second. I'm gonna.
And
Claudia,
you will appreciate this. The ram I have this year, it's 3 young rams for whatever reason.
Aw.
Just went in with the girls, so this is the beginning of the whole next season. I thought you'd appreciate it.
Sheep love.
Yes, the sheepdom, the lambdom.
Plato's retreat with the sheep.
So how have you been, Claudia?
I've been pretty good. A little too busy for my taste of non-music stuff, but good. Yeah. It's been it's been a little nutty, but still here. So yeah.
Good.
I got a
That's
new
the
guitar.
first step. Yeah, I know. I saw on Facebook. So hold it up. Let's see what you got.
Oh, it's pretty. It's a slope. I don't know if you can see it. It's a slope-shouldered Taylor.
I'm a
It's
big
nice
fan
guitar.
of slope-shouldered.
Oh, me too. I used to have one. I had it for several years. I was keeping it for a friend who had a drug problem, and I sold it back to him. But so then I missed it after that. And
Who makes it?
This is a Taylor. They have this new
Okay.
series, and it's very nice. I have to get some adjustments done on the pickup because I had the action lowered. It affected the pickup, but whatever. It's a really nice guitar, and I haven't played in several days, so I'm kind of
Claudia, I have a quick question. How are things around COVID in Austin now? Because they were so bad, and I really haven't heard anything since then. Are things calmed down?
Yeah, it's much better. It's we're like officially, I think it's stage 3 now, so it's much better. It's so politically rancorous with all that. Especially where I am, it's more rural, out in the hill country, and it's just seeping through to the school board elections, which are nuts. So it's all that stuff is a little unpleasant to deal with and uncomfortable. Because when I moved out here, it was kind of like this community, especially, was sort of like live and let live. People didn't really focus on their differences, but now it's just sadly not like that anymore. So whatever.
Well, hopefully that tide will turn.
We hope. Yes, there's always hope.
Yeah.
So
what's on your musical mind?
Well, I this is a story that's more and okay, disclaimer, I never apologize before playing, but this is a brand new song, so it may not I have the words here. But I read this story, and you probably know this story well, Annie, since you're like always key into weird stories. About this guy up in Maine who managed to live in the woods for 27 years without anyone knowing who he was, right? It's pretty famous. He was the North Pond Hermit. And I heard about it on a podcast, and it was this journalist who was trying to meet him while he was in jail. It's a really great podcast. I don't know the guy's name, but it was very interesting, and it just kind of stuck in my mind. And he had very little to say the whole time. It was just kind of, he was this sort of just strange man who went off in the woods and just lived by stealing stuff from cabins, and no one could figure out, who was breaking into their cabins. And it was a pretty funny story. So funny and weird. But anyway, so I've written a couple songs recently that are kind of about people, and one is from 150 years ago, and then this one is more recent. And I haven't even tried to sing yet today, so we'll see what comes out. Anyway, it's called The North Pond Hermit. I drove till my tank was empty and followed a trail for days. I had no map, I had no plan, I had just walked away. I wasn't some kind of mystic, I didn't know how to pray. I only ever tried that to keep the bitter cold at bay. Staying awake all night, hidden behind plain sight, raiding cabins, empty cabins for supplies. I was a tribe of one. All of my deeds were done without a trace. Not a boot print left behind. Yes, I was the North Pond hermit in their minds. Every year things went missing. Batteries and food, books and booze and propane gas from these North Pond woods. They wondered about a hermit joking with some unease, where I walked to their homes, unvanquished and unseen. Staying awake all night, hidden behind plain sight, raiding cabins, empty cabins for supplies. I was a tribe of one. All of these deeds were done without a trace. Not a boot print left behind. I was the North Pond hermit in their minds. "27 years off of the grid, deepest Maine. But for getting caught, that's where I've been to this day. Staying awake all night, hiding behind plain sight, raiding cabins, empty cabins for supplies. Always a tribe of one. Ever a deed be done without a trace. Not a boot print left behind. Forever the North Pond hermit in their minds. Their minds.
Woo! Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh,
Something happened in the middle, and I couldn't tell if it was me sounding bad or something coming in sounded bad. It was like, "Whirr," there was a weird noise. But yeah, it's getting there. So thank you.
oh yeah.
Really
Great,
nice song.
Claudia. Really, really good.
Have you seen that movie Pig?
No.
The Nicolas Cage. He's kind of a hermit.
No.
He was a chef who becomes a hermit and then has to come out again because someone steals his truffle pig.
He's not one
Yeah,
of my
we-
favorite actors, so I don't go out of my way to watch him.
Okay, then don't. Okay, then.
Even if you
you
hate him, it's a film absolutely worth watching. He becomes a real actor again. It's not a Nicolas Cage movie.
Oh, good. Yeah.
It's-
No,
it's
he's
a-
not usually someone I want to spend 2 hours
It's an
with, but I'll take
extraordinary
your word
movie. It's
for
an
it.
extraordinary movie, and yeah.
I like that.
Cool.
Well, we're getting down there. So David, maybe another tune from you,
Yeah, sure.
and Karen.
I'd rather sleep in a box like a bum off the street than a fine feather bed without your little old cold feet. And I'd rather be deaf, dumb and stone blind, than to know that your morning will never be mine. And I'd rather die young than to live without you. I'd rather go hungry than to eat lonesome stew. You know it's once in a lifetime, and it won't come again. It's here and it's gone on a magnolia wind. Rather not walk, oh, damn it, forgot it there. Sorry, a phone call just came in and interrupted my train of thought. Let me just start that again. If it ever comes time, that it comes time to go, sis, pack up your fiddle, sis, pack up your bow. If I can't dance with you, then I won't dance at all. I'll just sit this one out with my back to the wall. I'd rather not hear pretty music again if I can't hear your fiddle on a magnolia wind. I can't hear your scent on a magnolia wind. Sorry to Guy Clark for screwing up the middle of that.
Oh, we all, it's folk music.
It's always when a phone call comes in just when I'm starting to play, and like hear it in the background.
That's another one of those tunes where it's a bummer that we can't play together. But you're right up the road, so we'll do some playing together.
Well, the next show that Pat and I are working on for Dogwood, I think I told you need to come and join in on that. We're going to do a Guy Clark, John Prine evening.
Awesome. So I got to hear a little bit more of that pedal steel before we call it a day. How's it going out there, Karen? Maybe Karen, make sure your microphone is close enough to your mouth this time, or boost your volume.
Actually, I got to turn the pedals. We turned off some here to get rid of white noise. So we're going to turn it back on again. Okay, that would help, right? All right. Oh, there it came on.
There it is.
Okay, I think. Oh God, I wish those girls were here with me now. Guitars are quite hot in the level. Okay. Oops. Well, let's see what I can do. I'm going to turn down this one. Only one guitar, so it might be the pedal steel. Just play the pedal steel for a second. Claudia, is that it? Is that what you're hearing loud?
A little hot. It's a little loud, yeah.
So you got to just play softer. He's got a foot pedal, so it'd have to be just softer. How's that?
It's loud, but it's beautiful.
And is my guitar loud or not? My guitar is okay?
No.
Oh, it's loud too.
I
Just a
hate
touch.
being too loud. So
A little loud on the low end.
Okay. Is that the moon I see away in the west, just ahead like thee? Seeing no express, I know she's gone. Whatever I say, and it won't be long till I make up my mind and go away. Is that the sun come up on the eastern shore? Just a cold fire gleam through the firebox door. I know she's gone. Whatever I say, and it won't be long till I make up my mind and go away. See that man can't hear the whistle, blind or fool, out on a trestle, can't go up, can't go back. Train come along and brushed him off the track. Other storms may blow and the winds may rise, still long to go where the fast mail flies. I know she's gone. Whatever I say, and it won't be long till I make up my mind and go away. See that man can't hear the whistle, blind or fool, out on a trestle, can't go on, can't go back. Train come along and brushed him off the track. Other storms may blow and the winds may rise, still long to go where the fast mail flies. I know she's gone. Whatever I say, and it won't be long till I make up my mind and go away. Till I make up my mind and go away.
Oh,
How did that mix end up? It's really hard
it
to
was
tell.
That
great.
sounded perfect.
Okay.
It was perfect.
It's not what we hear at all.
God,
Yeah.
So great.
it's a great addition to the musical landscape we've had here now.
Oh,
We've got,
good.
we've
Yeah.
had
good.
auto
Such a
harp,
treat.
and
Yeah.
we've had nickel harpa, and we've had
That's right.
Mark, I
hammered
hope we-
dulcimer.
I hope we can talk you into coming down to Beacon and playing with us sometime, Mark.
Yeah.
I'm game.
Who's game?
We were harmonizing with you over here.
Oh, I
Deacon.
was missing you,
All
Lori
right.
and
Yeah.
Patrick. I was
Yeah.
missing
I had the
those
bottom
vocals.
part.
Yeah.
Well, I did play that with the Trouble Sisters at the Dogwoods.
I know, I was there.
I did miss the harmonies. Yes.
So maybe one more tune from down Wimberley way.
Down Wimberley Way. Okay, let me turn up
There
my
you go.
monitor. Down Wimberley Way. Da, 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 da. Down Mexico Way. Well, this is a very Texas song. It's a
Excuse me.
Thank you, David.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a song that a story I first heard many years ago, probably about 15 or more years ago, and I just kind of turned it over in my mind before even attempting to write about it. It's about a woman who was one of the few female outlaws in the Old West, and her name was Laura Bullion, and she lived from the 1870s and died in the early 60s in Memphis, kind of obscurely, but I was thinking about her life and what she had seen in that period of time, which is pretty amazing. And so I kind of wrote it from the point of view of her telling someone who probably wouldn't believe that this little old lady who was a seamstress in Memphis had been a horseback riding, gun-toting outlaw in the Old West.
Daughter of an outlaw in a little outlaw's life, from Abilene to Cody, across the Great Divide. True love was my treasure, though I never was a wife. But I will tell my story now to you. Mama barely raised me, then she left me with her kin. They did the best they could to keep a restless child from sin. Bound for San Antonio, the red lights reeled me in, and I was no one's angel anymore. Fanny Porter schooled me in the ways of pleasing men. I took up with Will Carver, Blackjack Ketchum's gang. He died in Sonora, then I fell for Blue-Eyed Ben. Yeah, I was the tall Texas girl. Running with the wild bunch, we robbed the banks and trains. I would hold the horses till we made our getaway. But we hit the Great Northern and the boys blew up the safe. $60,000 was the take. July to November of '01 was quite the time. Montana down to Little Rock on the run, living high. It ended in St. Louis, where we both were caught and tried. They gave me 5, but then got 15 years. Out on good behavior, 7 more years did I pine. I walked a straight and narrow path while Ben did his hard time. Letters sent from prison, he said, Laura, do not cry, 'cause I will make this up to you someday. promise of an honest life was one he could not keep. 9 months after exiting that penitentiary, Ben died near Dryden, robbing the number 9 tree. Daughter of an outlaw, and I lived outlaw life. Well, 50 years have passed, now I'm the last one of their kind. My secrets will die with me, and my name will fade with time. It's Laura, the tall Texan's girl. Laura, the tall Texan's girl.
Gorgeous.
What a
Beautiful
great
tune.
song. That's fantastic.
Beautiful tune.
Thanks.
Oh,
Beautiful.
beautiful.
So beautiful.
Oh,
Really something. So that's a wrap for this first session returning the Sunday Sanity Show to the
Where's your
screen.
song, Andy?
It'll wait till next time. I've got to write a piece today because the climate treaty talks are starting and I'm feeding the machine.
Russ
But-
never sleeps.
Big machine.
Great, no, climate never sleeps too. I'll just show you. It's funny. Greta Thunberg was not going to go to the talks because of the inequity, the fact that so many delegations couldn't come if we were not vaccinated, but she is there. And, you know, the youth who are there are going to make a difference. It's the same as it was when I was covering the talks in Montreal in 2005. It was young people who were really stirring things up. So hopefully we'll make some progress. It'll be incremental and it'll never be sufficient, but we're working at it. So thanks everybody for tuning in. Thanks to all of you for playing, and also to Alexis Rockman, who came by before to show some of that profoundly inspiring and troubling work that he does. And stay well, go forward. I'll see you all probably off and on in the physical sense, except maybe not Claudia for a while. And I'll try to, I'm not sure, you know, I'm going to try to do it every weekend. I'm just not quite sure about next week. I haven't had time to look far ahead to next weekend. So share this
Thanks
when
for
when
doing
we're
it
done. You
today,
can share,
Andrew.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
all of you
thanks
out there,
very much for
you
having
can
us.
share the link anytime. Take care, everybody. Have a good day.